One of the most common questions that get asked is, Brandon, what would you do if you had to start all over again in 2024 to build a $1 million course business? Well, it's exactly what we talk about in today's episode. And I invite my guest, my buddy, my bestie, Mr. James Wedmore, who has over $80 million in sales in this online course business. He has about 15 years of experience, and combined, we have almost 30 years of experience, and we break down exactly what we would do in 2024. And I'll tell you right now, the things that we would do in 2024 are not the same things we would do when we got started. In fact, most of you that are stuck, plateaued, and haven't even broken 100 or 250,000 yet are all making one or more of the mistakes that we talk about today. We're going to dive into what those mistakes are, how to fix it, and how to start a business that it puts you on a pathway to hit your goals in 2024. So get ready. It's about to begin. Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Happy to have you here. Glad to see you guys. We have a returning guest with us today. This person may be one of the, if not the most returning guest on our podcast. And we have a really awesome episode planned for you guys. With my experience combined with his experience, I'm sure it's close to 25 to 30 years of experience in the online space and millions of dollars worth of sales and courses, mentorship, masterminds, group coaching, you name it, we have done it. And that person is none other than Mr. James Wedmore. So James, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, Sir Brandon. It's always a pleasure to come back on the show. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, pleasure to have you. We were talking before the episode on kind of what we wanted to talk about. And I thought it'd be really cool to talk about like how we would go and start over from zero. And then we got onto this topic of like, well, that has to start with uncovering a lot of the mistakes that are going on in the course space. And so I think that's what we want to dive into in this episode. But James, for anyone who is brand new to you, has never heard of you before, do you mind just giving a quick little recap of who you are and what you do? And we'll hop into this episode.
Yeah, I've been in online business now. This will be my 17th year. And we did the math. It's roughly, I lost count on some of it, but it's over $80 million in sales at this point in that career. We've been running at over 10 million a year for the past 5 years. And, you know, I got my huge, like, quote unquote claim to fame as the YouTube video guy. That's how Brandon and I met. We were both teaching that, and I built a successful business doing that. And I didn't really want to spend the rest of my days being the video guy. I had bigger dreams. And so today, that's what I do, is help people become the expert in their niche or marketplace or niche, and build an entire world empire of digital products, content, and revenue streams around that. And, you know, dude, have you heard of this website, bizbuysell.com?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Sure have.
Dude, obviously, like, it's a gold mine if you're looking for businesses. And I'm always on there looking. And like, there's this like sombering realization that I had while on there, because like they show these are local businesses, right? And like Brandon can find them in our like neighborhoods and stuff, and they give you their numbers. These are businesses you see, and very common businesses. You're like, oh, there's the local tailor, you know, there's the local coffee shop, and then you see the numbers and like what they cash flow, bro. It's like it was like sad in my heart. To see like a business that will be, and they're like healthy profit margin, and it's like, and they cash flow $40,000 to $60,000 a year. And then we go into this space that we exist, that we are in, and we have people making multiple 6 to multiple 7 figures a year at 40 to 60% profit margins. And it was like the level of gratitude that I have for the type of business, the model that we exist in today, and just how much like easier it is too on top of it. And still some people complain, and it's like, go start a restaurant and then call me in 18 months. Right. Holy cow. So I think that's why I'm extra passionate about that today. What's that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great because there's so many different ways to make money also, and you're not limited to just one product or one type of way. There's, courses or small digital products, download
Yeah.
PDFs, there's masterminds, there's group, you could do in person, not in person. Like it's just, you pick the way in which you want to do it. And it's
Right.
just beautiful. And you have the whole internet available to you, which, in some cases it can make it harder because there's so much competition, but also there's an endless amount
Mm,
of just potential that you can tap into when you learn to tap into it.
yeah.
And I know this space has been exploding, especially since COVID. There's been
Oh yeah.
more and more people coming
Big
in,
time.
which is great. But with that increased competition, there's a lot of sort of mistakes that people are still doing that cause them to
Mhm.
kind of flounder or struggle inside of the space, which, once you figure out the recipe, once you have the systems and the processes and the experience and you start putting some pieces together, it flows very easily. But let's talk about, like, if you were starting over in today's day
Mhm.
and age, because when you got started back in, I don't know, 2010 or 2009 or 8 or whenever it was,
Yeah.
completely different market than it is now. I remember
Completely.
Mike Filsame and Andy Jenkins did $1 million launch like in 2015 or something like that. Everyone's like, oh my God, they did $1 million launch.
Yeah.
Now you're doing like 6 million, $7 million launches. We've done a lot of $1 million launches. And so,
Yeah.
everything's expanding, but a lot of the advice that people have been getting over the years is still around and it's keeping them stuck. So if
Mm.
someone was getting
So
in
true.
space, they've maybe been plateaued under $100,000 a year,
Mhm.
and they've been doing the quote unquote right things. What are some of the mistakes you think they're probably making that are keeping them stuck?
Well, I'm going to list out a couple that are coming up at the top of my mind, and then if you want me to unpack these or go further with these, one that I'm just going to say really quickly is I think the model. I think people need to look at the model, and the model must match the numbers. It's like, for
Uh,
example, if you're trying to do one-on-one coaching and you're 60-minute sessions for like $100, but you like want to be multi
right.
six figures, the math isn't mathing, right? So that's a big one. But here's three more I'm gonna share really quickly. Number one, I see a lot of people that stay busy and they're doing the 8 hour to 14-hour days and they're not doing revenue generating activities. A lot of times they're just
Mm,
creating. They're not putting the offer out there. They're not actually selling it. They're staying busy AF, but they're not
right.
focusing on the things that actually bring in the money. The next thing I see, Brandon, is a lot of bad offers. You talk a lot about bad messaging, but I see
Mm-hmm.
that offer and messaging is like in a dance together. They are dancing
Yeah.
together. And I see a lot of bad offers. And one of the things I see with bad, because I mean you're screwed. Like if no one wants your stuff, they're never going to pay you money. Like, wow, that was a really crappy offer. Here's my money. This is
Right.
never going to happen, right? So here's a big common thing I see with bad offers. You hear people talk about we need to speak to the transformation, right? Like the offer has to solve a problem and provide something. And a lot of newer entrepreneurs, I don't call it imposter syndrome or something or self sabotage, they're not getting to the heart of what really matters with the prospect in what they solve. So it's like
Right.
if I talk to you and you're a business owner and I'm like, what do you want? And you're like, I want more sales. And then I sell you like, okay, here's a product on like how to be more productive. It's like, but he just told you he wants more sales. But you're just going to
Right.
help. Yeah, but if he is more productive and he's more productive with the right things, maybe it will lead to more sales. It's like you just lost that person to someone who's going to say, this will help you get more sales. So they're dancing around the target of what really matters to the prospect. And if they are putting stuff out there, oftentimes they're putting stuff out there that no one actually wants. And then
Yeah.
the last thing I'll talk about is, and I think this has become the biggest thing, and I wonder if you like have a disagreement on this, because I know we both are a huge emphasis on messaging, but I think when more competition comes into the marketplace, what we have to look at that from is your prospect has more choices, and they're going to choose someone that um, branding and the emotionality that that person conveys as the coach, as their mentor, really matters. So similar values, the aesthetic, the just the perception of I'm an authority and I know what I'm talking about, I respect that individual, matters. All of that matters. And you see a lot of people that are like, I don't get it, I put my product out there, and it's like, well, I want to be like, it's you, bro. Like
Yeah.
like that perception is so important. And when I ask people, why did you sign up with me? Why'd you buy Business by Design? Why'd you join this? the first answer they go to has something to do with me. And I'm not trying to be egotistical about that. Success leaves clues. And they'll be like, I love your teaching style. I love your values. You just come across a particular way. And
Right.
this becomes something that people have their own blindness to, is what's the vibe you're giving off. And I've talked about this on your podcast before. There's
Yeah.
principles like the principle of authority, where people will not buy from you if they don't perceive you as an authority. So I see people using social. This is oh my gosh, just gets me riled up. People will use, that are an online expert, will use social media in ways to get attention that will get them
Mhm.
attention, but at the expense of their perception of their brand. Like they'll get into this like gossipy drama, like emotional stuff, and you're like, that got you a million views, but I don't want to pay you money and learn from you. And I think
Yeah.
these are the big mistakes I'm seeing.
Well, let's dive into these ones and let's start with
Yeah.
the last one. We'll just go backwards because
Mhm.
the last one's really important. And I think one of the things that I wrote down as one of the mistakes is people automatically think attention and audience means sales, and it
Right.
doesn't mean sales.
It's the
And
type of
so,
attention. Yes.
right, exactly. And so what we see is people calling someone out, or their content becomes about making someone wrong. Can you believe that these people do this, or this person preaches that? And it's like, cool. Okay, like maybe we agree with you, but it's like, what do you do? And how did that help build the relationship? And so I have this quote that's something like, if you whine, complain, and bitch and moan in your content, then you're going to attract whiners, complainers, bitches
Pictures.
and moaners in
Yes.
your content or in
Your
your
content
audience.
is like, I have two metaphors for it. It's like, you choose whichever one you want, because I can't decide. They're both great. A magnet, or
Yeah.
like bait for fishing. What
Yeah.
content you put out there is going to determine who you catch or what you attract. And
Right.
nothing could be further from the truth. And so if if you tap into the current like temperaments of people, most people do complain. It's fine. That's okay. That's fine. Most people
Right.
complain. So you go and create a piece of content where you're bitching and moaning and complaining. Yeah, people are gonna be like, I know, right? And it's gonna get the engagement, all that type of stuff. But now what is the relationship? It's like, oh yeah, this is just my complainer friend.
Right.
And I look at this, and hopefully I don't mean any disrespect, but you look at like Jesus,
Yeah.
and and I love the teachings of Jesus. I wouldn't label myself Christian, but I mean profound teachings. And like I couldn't imagine, as in the times of Jesus, that he was going around and complaining and bitching and moaning, and people, that's why they were following him. And they're like, I got
Right.
to learn from this guy because he's right. He's complaining about everything, and I want to
Well,
complain too.
I think people take a righteous approach to it, as they think that they're doing it because they're standing up for something. And there's a difference between standing up for what you believe in versus standing on
Yeah.
top of someone else. And
Oh, big
so for me, like, for example, I always take a stand against like doing too much how-to content. And I'm like, here's what I stand for. I just don't think it really works. But I always take the approach of, however, that's not universal. If it is working for you, which it does for some
yeah.
people, then like don't listen to what I'm saying. And I would
Mhm.
never poo-poo on it, but I would say there's obviously bigger and better ways of doing something. And so when we start to get that wrong attention, you may start to see that you're getting a lot more followers and likes and views, but the bank account really hasn't adjusted because what you haven't done is done a good job building the rapport, the different types of trust you need. You haven't done any demand creation. You haven't even talked about your product at all. And you're
Yeah.
just left sitting there going like, okay, great, got the intention, but there's no sales
Well, and
of
another
money in the
piece
bank
of this,
account.
to take this a little further, because I 1000% agree. And, and I've never done that. Like, I've never in 17 years gone on some complainer rant where I'm bad mouthing others, or stirring up gossip. Like, you just don't need to do that. But the other piece of this, to just take this further, is this conversation around vulnerability. And people think it just like the vulnerability and the attachment to authenticity, that if I'm more vulnerable, like people will like me and buy from me. And
Yeah.
in what they think vulnerability means is like just be emotional and like record yourself crying on Instagram and then
Right.
post it. And
Right.
first of all, faking vulnerability for any type of monetary gain, or just faking vulnerability, period, has got to be the most disgusting thing to me. And I think people are starting to wake up to that. I see all these videos today of people making fun of people that are like, hold on, let me get the camera right as I record myself crying. And then like look at it and like, yeah, that looks good. Let's post that. And,
Yeah.
I shared a couple of episodes a couple years back when I was going through a very dark time in my life. And I did two things that I wanted to make sure that I did. And that was me going through, nasty divorce and just like a lot of change and transformation in my life that is really messy and yucky as you're going through it. Is first I said, I want to make sure I get to another place with this before I want to share it. And I said, and this is what the most important piece number two was like, if I'm sharing this, this isn't for me. My audience is not okay. Let's say it this way: your audience is not your fucking therapist. Okay. Okay. So, guys, can you just stay with me for a minute as I like? That's great if you want to do that, but I'm telling you, the perception that is created is not that of this is my online expert, mentor, coach I want to learn from. And you guys come at me at that if you disagree. But we'll just compare sales and you tell me which one's working more. So I wanted to make sure if I'm going to share this, if I'm going to open up to this, that I'm on a healthy place in my life now, so that it's not about me still working through something, using my podcast as a form of therapy. And number two, that it's of value to my audience. So I share from a place of vulnerability. If I go, is this going to help others? And so you use your vulnerability as a tool to serve, not as a tool for your own healing or significance. I did not want attention. I didn't give me your pity, guy. Just pour your pity all over me, Brandon. I was not there for that. And I think that's the line that if you cross that, does more harm to a personal brand than it would good. Again, the tricky thing, dude, is we play in this pool with the influencers and the influencers, right? The social media influencers, that's their job, is to get attention. And we follow those people. And if we just do what they do, be careful, because their business model is different than ours. So I would not be modeling an influencer's type of content every single time, because their job is just to get the attention. Your job is to attract people that have a particular perception of, I trust this person knows what they're talking about. I want to hitch my wagon to their trail. I want to learn from that person.
And that's what I tell people is like, vulnerability doesn't build connection automatically. And we have to understand what we release through being vulnerable is what builds the connection. And we have to be intentional with what we're releasing. And if we release, like I like the direction you were going with that, and some examples that I've done is kind of like, looking at my past and looking at my lessons. Here's the way in which I messed up. That's being vulnerable, is like, look, I messed this up, or here's the mistake I made, or I treated someone this way and this is what I learned and here's how I fixed it. Those are all valuable ways that can build the right type of connection you need with your audience through vulnerability. But sitting there, like James said, and just being, whiny and using it as a therapy and complaining so people feel sorry for you. No one's buying from you because they feel sorry for you. They're buying from you because they want the transformation that you have, or the lesson. They want to be able to experience the same thing that you've experienced.
I do worry that people are using social media to get their needs met. And if you are, that's very dangerous. Don't do that, please. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Of course. So the next one, which I think they kind of go hand in hand, is you talked about not building the right type of authority or vibe, or incorporating the right sort of values into your brand. And I think these kind of go hand in hand, because when you understand the values of what you do, who you are, what you want to represent, that can be an indicator of sort of what to be vulnerable about, what to connect on, and things like that. But when people aren't relevant, they don't have the right branding, the right vibe, the right approach to stuff. How do they start to fix that? Because there might be people here like, unintentionally we're making those mistakes. Like, how do we start to fix that?
Well, the first thing you have to do is, and I think this is a challenging practice at first, but the first thing you have to do is everything that you're producing and creating, everything that's out there, you have to begin to develop an objective eye and look at your own stuff objectively and say, what is being communicated here unconsciously? What would someone perceive, and how would they feel when interacting with this? And I think you get to choose, because there's different archetypes of personal brands. There's the um, trusted, guide, the alchemist wizard type, and then there's the like I'm your cheerleader, building a community. Like there's tons of different styles for different folks. But if it isn't intentional, then it's going to be all over the place, and you're going to communicate a lot unconsciously. And so when you could go, what is it that I want them to think about and feel about when they interact with anything?
Yeah.
Then and you can get really clear on that, how you dress, uh, to your branding colors, to your font choice. I mean, like, these aren't things I spend a lot of time on myself. I'm
Right.
not even an expert in this. It was like, but you can, like, if you're just like in the olden days, I've just like clip art and random copy and paste, and it's like whatever, it's out there, good enough. And today we're so much more intentional with all of that. Now you can buy branding packages. You can even go to like 99designs.com and get things made very inexpensively today. But I think this is a big one. Is like, what is the overall unconscious, nonverbal message that is being communicated in all of your stuff, and just spending more time curating that is, I think, is really important today.
Well, I think one of the easiest ways to do it, because I don't think people should spend so much time overthinking about it. I'm sure you'd probably agree, but especially when you're
Yeah.
just getting started, I'm sure as your brand gets bigger, you want to be more intentional with it. But
Oh,
one of the ways
yes.
that I see people mess this up is like they have a lot of insecurities or fears or worries what other people think. But the more you understand yourself and who you are, and you're not like throwing on something that you would never wear just because you think it looks good on video, and just having that, I think, is enough to incorporate some sort of stable sort of vibe, uh, values and branding throughout, because you're using the same words, you stand for the same things, you're wearing the same type of
Mhm.
clothes, you have your colors. So I feel like the more you kind of understand yourself and get out of like this external world controlling you, the more that this just falls in place in the beginning. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's like, there's that you potentiality, which is like, there's us contextually. Like, I was doing a guitar lesson with my guitar instructor, and like on the spot live, we do it over Zoom. And he's like, all right, man, I'm going to play a song, a key A minor, and I just want you to solo to it. He just puts me on the spot. And dude, I like froze up. I was so nervous. Like, I'm shaking, and like I
Yeah.
just tanked the solo. And I'm like, can I try again? Like, I was really nervous. And like, you'd be like, wait, you mean the same guy that gets on stage in front of like thousands of people and is doing all this content and all that type of stuff? And it's like, well, it's contextual,
Right.
and in that environment, I was new and awkward and uncomfortable. And so, yes, there's a version of you where you're like in your power and you're on it, and you want to get yourself there as fast as you can and show that side of you. And
Right.
to me, in this online expert space, that's a version of you that I call these things invisible targets. It's like where your attention is when you're talking or when you're doing anything. It's like, but where's your attention? And
Right.
it's like, it's purely on, this is going to make a difference for someone. It's purely on service. It's purely on impact. Like, I have something I've got to share. And it's like, when you're focused on that, your who you step into is so much more powerful than like, are they going to like it? What if they
Right.
don't? What if it's not good? What if someone doesn't like it? And it's like, where you place your attention is going to determine how you show
Yeah.
up. And that changed a long time for me. I just kept focusing on, how could I help? Who could I help? What will make a difference for them? And that changed a lot. And that's, anyone can do that right now.
Yeah. And I see it even with our own students when they go through our messaging program, and it's like, then they spend all the time scripting and coming up with the perfect video and the perfect topic. And then they hesitate to push it out
Yeah.
there. And their attention is on like everything that could go wrong and what people are going to think versus who it could help and what they're going to learn. And so I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. It's like, you gotta bring the message to life. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, add that X factor ingredient, and that X factor is you. And if you're really concerned about being liked, isn't that funny how like that is the most, like, the biggest turnoff? Like, needing to be
Yeah.
liked is a very repulsive energy, but just like, you're people are drawn to people that are just like no fucks given. Like, they're just
Right.
content. Like, I don't need your approval. I don't need validation. I know I have something that helps. Take it or leave it. You know, it's kind of like in the back of your mind, you're like, and you're a knucklehead if you don't. That's your
Yeah.
problem, not mine. And I think
Right.
that's a big difference.
Yep. Love it. So let's talk about offers, because I think this is a
Yeah.
big topic. And we could probably do honestly an entire episode just on offers. But I
2
think
episodes.
there's two things that you said. You said there's bad offers, and then they also have offers that nobody wants, which are also bad offers. And
Yeah.
I think what happens, especially when people are brand making new, is they're like, here's my skills, here's my knowledge, here's what I'm good at. Let me just throw it into a course, package it up. And then they think the course is their offer because this is what
Yeah.
we're selling and this is what we're doing and this is what people are going to go through. To me, that's like one of the biggest mistakes you can make when it comes to offers. And you have to understand your course is not your offer. It's more of how are
Yes.
you positioning it? What are you including? What are you moving around in order to make this thing irresistible to the prospect, to the audience? So James, in your mind, what is an offer and how is that different than the actual product or the course that someone may be selling?
The offer is the ask. It's the quid pro quo. It's the this for that. And it's so much, it's so the to even offer itself, to me, I see it as a verb first. What are you offering? I'm going to offer. So it is what the ask is in exchange for what, how we ask. It's the entire delivery. And so
Yeah.
to just say, what's your offer? It's a course. No, that is one of 7 ingredients that I teach. So then it comes to a really tough, painful truth, but it's helpful for the struggling course creator. Your audience, no matter what niche you're in, I do not care, it does not matter, does not want a course. They don't want a membership. And so if you're trying to sell that, that's why you're struggling, because you're trying to sell what they don't want. And people buy what they want far more than what they buy what they need. So if we're just selling here, you need to watch 100 videos, people are like, maybe you're right, but I don't want to, right? So the offer has to be so much more. And a big piece of it, as I mentioned earlier, is like selling what they actually want. Speak to the transformation. What's on the other side of this? And like I said, either people are missing the mark and totally diluting the value or what it will do for you, or they are trying to sell something that no one actually wants and no one's willing to pay for. And I'm going to give you an example of this that I see derivatives of in every niche. And it's usually when people start getting into like personal development spaces, it gets really hard. It's like these broad, general, nebulous, intangible kind of promises like gratitude. I'm going to help you have more gratitude in your life. I'm going to help. This is gratitudesecrets.com. It's like no one is going to pay you $1,000 to learn how to be more grateful.
Yeah.
Like I don't need 6 modules on that. And so you have a lot of these really intangible things. It's like no one wants that. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe you'll get one sale. That's not true, James. I pitched this to thousands of people and I got a sale. It's like, okay, why are you making this so hard on yourself? You know? So tons of examples of just things people don't actually want. And you know what I think it is, Brandon? A lot of times when we look at the offer, and I just did a post about this, there's this ego that we have of like, well, this is what I want to teach.
Yep. That's exactly
what
it is.
I want a business and I want to be teaching this. And it's like, okay. And the businesses that are successful put the needs of their audience first.
Yeah.
So did you even consider if that's what they want?
But it's an easy switch too. So it's like the gratitude thing. It's like, I want to teach gratitude. So here's what I'm going to do. And I'm a gratitude coach. And it's like, okay, great. That's fine and dandy. But no one's walking around saying, I just wish I understood how to incorporate gratitude in my life. However, if we start to ask ourselves, like, what's going on inside of someone's life where they require more gratitude, or what mistakes are they making, then we can start to get to a little bit more of a concrete thing, which is like maybe they realize they're really successful and they can't find happiness in their life. And then it's like, now the message becomes like, well, and even the offer can start to be formed around, hey, if you feel like you've been really successful, you have all the money, you've gotten everything you wanted, you've traveled, but there's an empty gap inside of your life, we have something for you. Now we're like
Yeah.
redoing the offer. It's not even a gratitude thing anymore. It's a fulfillment thing, but gratitude becomes the tool. It's like they're almost shoving the tool down someone's throat because that's what they
Yes.
want to do.
Yes, and that's why I've just never found more truth in a marketing statement, which is sell what they want, and then you can deliver what they need. And
Right.
most people have a really hard time telling you what they want, but you ask them, well, what are you done with? Like, what do you not want anymore? What are you struggling with?
Right.
And they'll tell you. So the opposite of what they don't want is what they do want. They want the removal of that, and how we do that is irrelevant. How what you're trying to sell them, like you said, on this process, but that's like trying to force someone and convince them to eat their veggies instead of saying like, I'm going to get you in the best shape of your life with more energy than you've ever had. Here's another example of this that I think will really make it hit home. I don't know if you knew this about me, but I used to be in the dating space years
Mm.
ago before we met. And one of the products that we had, actually it exists in both products, was for men. And I know this sounds so misogynistic, so I was just the marketing, don't judge me here. Was how to get women to be attracted to you.
Mm.
Guess what the whole course was? Confidence. The whole program was how to have confidence. But if we would have sold it as confidence for men, it would have tanked, because that's
Right.
not what that young 22-year-old man wanted. It's what he
Right.
needed. But he
Right.
want why, and so the question becomes, what is, for what purpose does that confidence serve in this context? Oh, easy. He can go
Yeah.
on more dates. He can get more women that actually find him attractive. He can fall in love, stop the whole dating thing and get married. Here's the other one. We also had another product. It was so bad. How to get your ex back.
Mm.
Guess what the program taught? How to move on. Half the program was like, be at peace with the breakup, put your life back together first, and get
Yeah.
back to where you were before you guys were together. And if that person wants to be with that person, they will come back. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it was like, if we would have told people that's how you get your ex back, they wouldn't have bought it. So
Right.
this is a conversation that we call the curse of coaching, because
Yeah.
I'd like to joke and jest and say great coaches who are like, know what this is going to solve it. I know I'm going to get to the core of this, the cause, the root cause. And then they try to sell that.
Yep.
And so I say great coaches tend to make really bad marketers until you adjust them. And you got to take off the coaching hat and you got to put a marketing hat on and say, how do I position, market, and sell this in a way that's meets the market where they're already at and says, that's exactly what I need. That's what I've been looking for. And that makes it irresistible.
And this is what we talk about inside of messaging. Is the first step always starts with problems. And the way I describe a problem is what's the unwanted experience. And so again, I would say 99% of people that are struggling just slap their knowledge and their skills together and then say, here's what it does. And they do things like what you just mentioned. They talk about the cause, they talk about the solution, how they're going to fit, like what the process looks like, how they're going to fix something, but they don't even tell you what they're going to fix. Once you start understanding what is the unwanted experience, the painful experience someone's going through, they don't want anymore, creating a really good offer becomes a lot easier because you're starting with the thing they're trying to fix versus the tool. And I think so many people focus on the tool versus the problem that's getting fixed. And it's like,
and
for
the tool
me,
is not that sexy for most people. So it's just like, it's a double negative,
Yeah. And for me, when I first started talking about messaging, there was a lot of people who didn't know what messaging was or that they needed it. And so what I had really positioned the product as is a content product. It was here to fix your content. I'm going to show you how to create really engaging content. But when you get inside, it was just all it was communication frameworks, messaging frameworks. Yeah, there was content frameworks and stuff like that too. But even today, there's a lot of things that are in our program that I don't talk about in the front end because I don't need to. It has nothing to do with getting them to buy the product. So I'd never bring them up.
Isn't that interesting? I think a lot of people think like, no, selling means I got to tell everybody everything that they're going to get and what it's all about. And so only to the degree that it gets the yes.
Yes.
And the rest, exactly. There's a lot of stuff I do not talk about that's inside. This is the same thing. It's like, we don't need to. We can have that conversation when we're there.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people, and I give this example all the time as well, is I think a lot of people feel like their offer is just one thing or it can, the offer, the product can be only offered one way. And here, I'll just give you a really quick example. Is inside of our messaging program, there's 3 phases. The third phase is about webinars and developing ads and how to develop a really effective webinar. Well, I did a webinar. It's kind of inception, a webinar on how to create a 7-figure webinar. And at the end of it, I pitched our messaging program, but I only pitched it as phase 3. I said, so here's our offer for you guys. We're going to build out a webinar with you. We're going to do your ads, da, 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 da. Like, and I said, here's the price, $10,000. And I said, but anyone who buys today is going to get 6 months of our messaging program for free. So when they log in, everything is still the same. It's our same product. It's the same messaging thing. Everything is the same. But I took our first 2 phases, positioned them as a bonus, because the way the messaging had led, the way the problem that I was solving for them, which is they're doing webinars that don't work, led them to a point where it's like, man, I really need to nail a webinar. So I just plucked out the piece that I had for that inside of my product and made that the offer and moved everything as a bonus. And I think a lot of people look at everything so black and white and rigid, when you can just look at all the elements inside of your product and you can craft really amazing offers depending on what topics you're talking about, what messaging you're using, what direction you're going with things. Are there any other tips that you would have?
I mean, as I hear that, Brandon, it's like, it really at the end of the day will come down to this. When you know who you're talking to and you know what they want, the offer is giving them what they already want at a killer deal. It's still more, they're getting, and that's a big mistake I do see, by the way, with the offer. I'll go over this one, is they are trying to justify the price with the value. So I'm going to sell you a $997 course, right? And I'm going to convince you that it's worth $997. And I'm going to spend my next hour convincing you it's worth $997. I've already lost. It's, why am I trading as a customer? Why am I trading $1,000 for $1,000? I'm going to waste my time. What I am going to do is I'm going to show you that this is actually worth 20,000 plus for every year that you are involved with this. It's worth far more, and I'm only going to charge $997. And until you can effectively convey and demonstrate so that they being the prospect can see that themselves, like they've come to that own conclusion, like this is worth everything to me. This is worth thousands of thousands, and it's only $997. It's not an irresistible offer, right? So when you can go, I know my prospect, I know who I'm talking to, and I know what they already want, and I'm going to offer them what they already want at way less of a price than what it's worth. You have an irresistible offer. I mean, like, we can't get any more simple than that, which is why I have recommended to people that are like totes noob in the sales department that practicing, call it practice, just you're going to make money practicing, doing the one-on-one sales calls is easy to learn this, because if you follow any of my sales scripts on your sales calls, guess what, like, the first question is? It's like, what are you struggling with? What do you want? What are you looking for? Like, what can we help you with? And that's what you're offering them. And where this becomes hard and why messaging itself an offer is so challenging is because the moment it becomes one to many, you got to get damn good at it. If we were just talking to one person all day, I think this would be 10 times, all of this would be 10 times easier, because anybody could sit here and pick up a phone that you have a relationship with. They're like, hey, Brandon, I've been following you for some time, and I'm so glad we got a chance to talk. And you just say, like, what's your biggest struggle that you think I could help you with? And I tell you, it's like, I would love to help you with that. Let's do it for this price. That sounds great. Let's go. Like, that's so simple. But now we're on the internet talking to thousands of strangers at the same time, live, automated, email, social. And we're like, how do I say the right words the right way at the right time to that right person when there's like so many people? And what do? This is, like, in my opinion, it's the second biggest sin of marketing. The first one is to be boring, but the second one is to be broad, because broad creates boring. So, like, we try to have this general, wishy-washy language that just has you go sounding like everybody else. And now you're lost in the noise. So it is. It's definitely harder, but It still comes down to like what they want.
Yep. And I think if you guys can pay attention to that and craft things, and this could be a trial and error and test different things, a really good offer can make or break the business. And I remember when
1000%.
I started the video Forex effect, it's like we did $1 million in sales in 9 months, and the offer was just so good. It was like, and all I did was just recognize there's these problems going on. And I just came up with a big solution for a big problem. Instead of looking at it going like, what am I really good at and what can I teach people? I said, what are my skills and knowledge and what are the problems and how do I bridge that gap? And the big problem was basically people wanted to do video and they would hire video editors or videographers and they would run into all these problems. They still have to script the video. They got to post the videos. The people aren't marketing people. And I started to realize that it was especially like multiple 6 and 7 figure business owners wanted to do video, but they didn't want to do it themselves. And they would hire a videographer who didn't know what they were doing. And it was just like, now it caused more work. And then boom, I put the offer in place and then we just exploded because it was a big need for people. And, and when you have a really good offer that's solving a really big, and guys, there's problems happening all the time, new ones coming up almost every day. And if you can pay attention to those and position your product as the offer to that, you can do really well.
Dude, the first time I launched Business by Design, by my standards, it completely tanked. And I can look back and it's so easy. And it comes down exactly what you're saying. It was like at the time, it was just not positioned as a great offer. And I had to work through that offer and make it great. And things had to change. Now, here's the funny things. Things had to change, but everything that was inside the course, and obviously it's like way more than a course today, but everything that was inside on the other end, once you join, none of that really changed. But how I had to position it had to change massively. And that's when sales started to change. So this leads me to just like my 30-second motivational moment. Okay. My personal growth thing. There is something that you and I have, and I've seen it because Brandon and I used to be business partners, and now we're just business besties today. And there's a quality that Brandon has, there's a quality that I have, and I don't see it in everybody. And it's this: when something isn't working or you don't like the experience of something, are you the type of person that gives up and throws in the towel and walks away from it? Or are you so dogmatically stubborn that you go, I got to solve this? So you put out your offer and it's like, tanked. I quit. I'm going to go try something else. Or do you sit there and say, how do I make this a great offer? Wow, how I pitched it, how I packaged it, how I positioned it didn't sell. So let me double down and figure this out. But people go, I tried it, it didn't work, so I give up. Wow, you should do a TED talk on that. That's inspiring. Like you just do something once, it doesn't work, so you just go on to the next thing. Yeah, I did that already. Move on, right? And anyway, I was obsessed. I was like, I know this is going to work, so I got to figure it out.
Love it. And there was one, this is, I think to move it to the next thing is you talked about like one of the biggest ways that's going to get people stuck is when they focus on things that are not revenue generating activities. Yes. And I'm saving this one for the last one because this one's huge. And I think it's the number one mistake that most people are doing. And they don't recognize it because it feels there are indicators that tell them
busy.
Yeah, they're busy, but they might see things like, oh, my email list did improve or my followers did improve. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's like, where is the revenue? Did the revenue improve or not? And they're not paying attention to the right things. And for me, like people always ask me, Brandon, what would you do if you were to start over again? And I would say, I would figure out how to bring in money as fast as I can.
As fast as, if Brandon was my mortal enemy, like if we were just total arch nemesis, that my ploy to take him down is I would say, hey, Brandon, I'd like to really help you. And I would give him a to-do list that takes 6 months to get done. And none of the things on that to-do list would ever bring him money. And he would be busy for 6 months working. And sadly, people are doing that to themselves. They don't even need an arch nemesis.
What are some of those things you would tell me to do?
Oh, to be a jerk and
yeah. So what are the things you're doing this time?
First, you need a website. So I need you to have this website, and then I want you to be blogging on that website every single day. Or maybe you can take a day off every other day. And then I want you to create the perfect course. So I want you to create all the content, put it in there, and that's going to be, and I want you to like professionally film it. And then, you might as well learn how to edit yourself. I know Brandon knows how to edit already. So edit your own videos, upload it all in there. Don't use any of these sites like Kajabi. I want you to actually learn how to custom code one of these sites and do it yourself and do it that way. Right. And the list goes on and on. We're building and we're creating, we're creating and we're building and creating. And when it comes down, this is more true today than I've ever seen it true. Is less than 5% of the activities that you will ever do. If we could just put down all the things you need to do over the next 90 days, less than 5% of the entire list of that are things that will produce revenue or lead very closely, like one derivative, 1 degree off from big money. And here's the best part. This is the good, I got a good news, bad news situation, Brandon. Here's the good news. The things, and you tell me if I'm wrong, the things that will make you the most money in your business take the least amount of time and the effort. True or false?
I would say true.
I'd say true. Here's the bad news. The things that will make you the most amount of money most often all exist outside of your comfort zone if you haven't been doing them already. So here is these things that are very clear 5% will make you money, and they take less time and physical effort, and they can be some of the most uncomfortable, ego-threatening, risk-revealing, rejection-exposing type of activities. So what is the logical solution? I will lie to myself and say I'm being productive and busy by working on all the other little safe, cozy things that don't actually put me out there and inevitably don't make you money. Bottom line, if you focus on things all day that don't make you money, how the heck are you ever supposed to make any?
Right. Yeah.
So make that a little more actionable for people. If someone was brand spanking new, the biggest thing I would doing is there would be a 90-day maximum timer that I am putting the first iteration of any offer out there. And I just listened to an interview on this, and who did this founder escapes me. It was either Masterclass or like lynda.com, like one of these big companies, right? You're familiar with Masterclass.
Yep.
And so I apologize if I'm wrong and I messed up who the company was, but it was one of these big companies. And he admitted when he had the idea, it's Patreon. I think it was Patreon. Okay. Anyways, it was one of these big names that he put it out there without any content, ran some ads to it and see if people will buy before he went and created this whole world and community and all this type of stuff. Yeah. And it's like, that's what I'm talking about. Test the offer as soon as possible and going to the people in your life that love you unconditionally and say, what do you think? You think this is a good idea? You think people will pay for it? You think, how much should I charge for it? Is not testing your offer. Put it out there, get a complete stranger to type in their credit card info or send you their PayPal money, and we've got a winner, and then go build it. So I would not waste a moment. My last piece on this, we talk about risk a lot. You can't risk it sitting on your biscuit. So risk is a thing in business. Like, you got to take a risk. However, the piece that people don't really tell you when they're sitting there like, go do the damn thing, take the risk, is that if you're actually really smart, you can massively mitigate risk. And I think the biggest risk that we have in this game is waste of time. And it would be such a risk of your life force and your energy to spend 6 months or a year, and this happens more often than we would like to see, of people working in a direction with a business model or an offer that people don't actually want, and you never took the time to see, would people actually pay for this before you built a brand, a website, and an entire world around this, only to find out no one wants this. So we can be smart and test the market, and we test by seeing if they'll buy. The proof isn't in the pudding, it's in the profit. Anyway.
Yeah. And that's like when I get asked that question, what would I do when I would start all over and I didn't have any money? I'd be like, I just get a credit card. I would run some ads. And I said, I wouldn't run them to like purchase anything, like get someone to buy or even opt in. I would just start figuring out what are some problems I can solve with my stuff, turn it into content. And I would actually just run the content through like engagement campaigns, through play campaigns, just to see if there's getting any traction or comments. Mm-hmm. And then I would figure out what's working. And then I would just literally use that credit card to get people to opt into a webinar. And then I would go sell something. That's what I would do.
Even if it's one-on-one right now, even if it's just like, let me Let me just do it.
And that's what I tell people is I wouldn't even create a course. I would literally just do a one-on-one service because it's gonna be a little bit higher ticket. I can work with the person, figure out what's working, what's not. I get more experience. I get more mastery. I can understand the intricate language that they're using.
And you get the
What I can get.
testimonials, the results.
Yeah. And then you have, your testimonials and all of that stuff. But I will say this does come with a disclaimer. I'm not telling you guys to go get a credit card and max it out and do that. This is what I would do after years of experience, but still, you can still do this on some level. We don't have to build the course. We don't have to create content for 6 months. We don't have to build an audience for 6 months. And I hear people say that all the time, even when they're thinking about getting their messaging program.
Like,
I'm just build
like,
my audience a
don't
little
sell
bit.
for your first year until your list gets to this level and you've posted that much
Right.
content. Why are you listening to bad advice? That's just
go sell. And I always tell people too, when it comes to ads and you are going to like start playing around and getting exposure, don't spend more than what you're willing to lose, especially in the beginning. But that experience of testing and tweaking and putting things out there and then making offers immediately after that is a really good thing to start doing. And you don't have to wait for 6 months to make freaking money in this business.
You know,
there are people.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Finish.
There are people that I've known that have been here for a year trying to build this business and haven't made an offer. And I remember, I won't say his name, but I remember one of your very first one-on-one clients came to you. This is when you and I first met. And he was like, man, I just don't know why I'm not making any money.
I've been
paid you all this
for over a year. I've been in business for over a year and I haven't made any sales. And I knew why. I knew why. I said, so why is that? And he said, I don't know. And I said, well, we're not moving on to my next question and my next teaching until you can give me the answer. It took 35 minutes before he said, oh, it's because I haven't been selling anything. And then I said, why haven't you been selling anything? That took a little bit too. And then he goes, oh, I don't have anything for sale. Ding, 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 ding. Now I'm going to go on. And then of course he went on and he did, I think 30K in the first 45 days, hit 6 figures that year. Increase the revenue next year. 2 years later, he was at 7 figures. So yeah, you do need an offer. I'm going to say something. I think I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. And it's probably going to be a little controversial. I don't know. But like you look at figures like Alex Hormozi and Gary Vaynerchuk. And I think I think the online expert community takes a lot of advice from them, and you have to be really careful because people use them as an example. They're like, well, look at how many followers, look what they're doing. Da, da, da.
Right.
They are not following the same model as you.
No, they're playing a different game, selling different products.
Playing, and people don't see that. They've bamboozled you. Not that they're bad people or anything, but they're tricked you. You think that they're doing the same thing that you're doing. How many courses have you bought from Gary and Alex? How many webinars are you attending, and how many online courses or how much one-on-one coaching are you getting from them? You're not. They have a different market, and it's a completely different model. And so we hear kind of these things, just give, share, and don't sell, and all this, like, just be everyone's friend on the internet is kind of this, like how people kind of assimilate that type of content. It's like they're never going to sell to you because you're not their model. And then we get in this trap. It's like, I just got to create more content. I got to do more content and don't sell because I want everyone to like me. And it's like, oh, and every time I do sell, people unsubscribe or they stop following me. So what do I do? And it's like, you're in business to make money. Let's not forget that. So you need to sell. And the beautiful thing is like, you don't need the big numbers. Here's something I was going to say at the beginning of this. With the revenue we make, did you know, this is mind-boggling. With the revenue we make, this is crazy pants. I only have about 1,500 customers a year.
You do?
1,500 customers. I know for a moment you're going to be like, that doesn't make sense. It makes sense, dude. 1,500 customers make up about 80% of our $12 million.
Make sense. It does make sense now that I think about it, because you have your initial product and moving them up to different products and different tiers and things like that. So let's talk about that too for a second, because this is the thing that I don't think other people understand either, is like, another reason why I'd probably start with one-on-one is because I can then move people to renewals. So like, hey, come on, a one-on-one offer. Now I can renew you. And now that I renewed you, I don't need to go and bring on another customer.
Yes.
And I don't think people realize that like 50% or even sometimes even more of your business, your revenue, can be from the same customers on the back end, selling them into bigger, different or newer things that
Yeah.
you're creating.
Yeah,
So
because
how
if
does
you
that?
keep helping them, if you keep supporting
Right,
them, if you, you
right,
know, like then, and again, every niche is different. Like if you're in the niche of like
yeah.
helping your baby sleep through the night, like chances are like once that's done, we moved on, right? Like, okay, I'm good.
But there
But
could, there
in a
could
lot,
be another problem after that that you help the babies with or something.
absolutely. And so you'd have to think about it differently, right? So, but this is crazy. Like we have one core product. I mean, I have other little things. Like I sell my conversion cards and I have like an automated funnel with like a $500 product, but that makes a little bit proportionally. But the
Right.
primary focus is my signature program, Business by Design. That's for the online expert. And then people come into that and they go, I want to work closer with you, James. I want to learn directly from you. I want to work with you. And so, yes, we have different tiers based on where your income is at. And in those programs, those have renewals. So it's like you want to do this again next year, you want to stay in it. Brandon, over 7, I think it was 71, over 70% renewal rate on that program from
Wow.
last year to this year. My mastermind, we run a mastermind, 79, 81%, something like that, however you look at the numbers. So almost like roughly 80% renewal. So a lot of the stuff I'm doing, people don't even see anybody else doing it, because what actually today a primary emphasis of my focus on is to just be there for as much as I can with my customers and my clients, serve the crap out of them, help
Yeah.
them, and they want to continue to be a part of that. Okay, now that we got you to 6 figures, like what's our next goal? Let me help you with that. And it's like, this ain't rocket science. And that's all 1,500 people. That is not a lot.
Yeah.
Now, here's where
Yeah.
it gets more mind boggling. My email list is way more than that. It's almost
Yeah.
300,000. My Instagram,
Yeah.
128,000 people follow me on Instagram and 160,000 on YouTube. Like, okay, we get millions of views on the podcast. It's just a tiny fraction of people. So if
Right.
you come back to what we've been talking about before, where you're so focused on attention and engagement and following, you miss the mark, because it's always a game for us in this industry of quality over quantity. And you can do
Yeah.
very well, very, very well with a small quantity of people. And you start doing the math. Let's go back to this one-on-one. I don't know what your model is if you were to do a one-on-one. I know you've done like 10, 15K like VIPs and stuff like that, and I've done that too.
Right.
But let's say someone here wants to do one-on-one. Here's a great strategy offer for a one-on-one. First of all, to start with a fixed fee. Could be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, like some number like that, depending on the market and all that. So let's just do 4. So you sign up for me, Brandon. It's $4K. We're going to do like a VIP half day. We could do it over Zoom, however you want. And then it's a minimum of a 3-month commitment at $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And we're going to do a quick check-in call every week. All of a sudden, at a very minimum of this, I got 4,000 coming in right out of the gate. And then for the next 3 months, I've got at least $1,000 reoccurring revenue coming in. And at the end of the 3 months, I just say, if you want to keep going, it's just 1,000 a month after, or 2,000, whatever it is, every single month. All of a sudden, you only need a handful of clients, and you're bringing in that upfront cash flow. If you did 2,000 a month, you just need 3 clients. And by the way, what are your expenses for that? You're making $6,000 a month with 3 clients. What is it costing you? What fixed expenses and costs do you have associated with that? Your Zoom line? You know what I mean? Like, we're in business, baby.
We're in business, baby.
Come on,
Love
let's
it.
go.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the industry is that it's just like there's no limits on what you can create or the price point you're going to charge or what the back end model looks like, and there are different tiers and there's like what you guys have is like ascension models, like higher levels, but you could have product suites and move people from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. But now that I think about it, because when you said 1,500 customers, I was like, that sounds too low. But then I was looking at our numbers and I'm like, well, I think we only have like 300 or 400, and we have a multiple 7-figure business off of like 300 or 400 people, customers a year. And so I think we have, like, I know we've done probably, I don't know, over $10 million in lifetime sales. And I think we have a total of like maybe 2,000 customers or something like that. And so, yeah, you can do millions and millions of dollars off of a few customers. But the other thing too is, that I want to address is we did our first $1 million and I only had 3,000 Instagram fans. I remember that. I remember thinking, because I didn't do any of that. I didn't focus on growing my audience through Instagram. And I didn't.
Did you say Instagram fans?
Do that. The what?
Did you say Instagram fans? I thought you meant OnlyFans.
Well, both of them. I make way more on OnlyFans with less followers. It's just kidding.
Brandon'sToes.com. Go check it out.
Everyone's going to be Googling it now. It's the number one search engine.
I'm going to go buy that.
But the point is what I'm saying is the numbers don't have to be huge. And I think a lot of times people think that, you might see someone who has $1 million business and 1 million fans. I'm like, but maybe they focus on a lot of attention or whatever it is. We don't need, once you figure out the things we talked about, great offers, you have your message that is clear. You understand it's about focusing on the problems and the unwanted experiences and crafting an offer around that. It's not about pushing the solution down people's throats. You don't need a lot of traction, audience, and people to have a successful business. And so you have to understand, like James and I are talking about, 300 to 400 customers makes you a couple million a year. If you're just trying to get to your first 100,000, I mean, you could do that with 50 customers or less, probably, maybe even less than that.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
the model matters, like the price point and stuff like that. But you got to start playing around with those numbers and going like, oh my gosh, if I sold this thing for $1,000, I don't need that many. Right. And then you spread that out over 12 months and you're like, wait, if I just do like 10 people a month, right? And it's like, oh, but I don't have time for that. I know, because you're busy doing all the things that don't actually make you money.
Right. Yeah.
And if we just reorientated and focused on sales first, because nothing happens till the sale's made, and we made that the priority. If we switch the Pareto principle to 80% of our time is spent generating the sales, getting more people in, and then the remainder 20% is the content. Here's the other thing I'm just going to add is like, the two other little like mistakes that I'm just seeing, which are like not really talked about. The first is just off of everything that we're just saying, is how important consistency over time is. We have so many mind-boggling stats for you to prove the efficacy of this. For example, I just talked to somebody who's like, they won the breakthrough of the year, my big competition for like my high ticket clients, like 2 years ago, not last year, but the year before. They first saw a YouTube video of me of 2013, didn't buy from me until 2019.
Oh my gosh.
So that's crazy. Years go by, right? We have stats that show 26% of the people who bought, like this was like 2 years ago, we did this stat, 26% of our customers were in up to 4 years of watching our launch before they signed up. So it just continues to prove like if someone were to say, James, what's your competitive advantage? I would say, well, first of all, it's time in the market.
Right.
And so you just got to put your time in. And so there are people that will watch you for 3-4 years before they decide to buy from you. You're just Johnny and Jane Appleseed. You're planting those seeds. And sometimes that fruit takes a little time to bear. So you give it the time that it needs. But how quickly do people give up and move on, and they're staying in the first gear of their life and business, which is the highest RPMs, most effort, for a really long time. And then the other thing, I totally forgot, but something about...
Well, I was going to say we had someone join our program like in the last couple of weeks who've been in our audience for 3 years before they bought. Yep. And they were just sitting there like listening to the podcast, watching what we do for 3 years. And they said they had a goal on their board of like getting into our highest level program. And then they finally did it this week. And like, I had no idea they were even sitting there. They never comment on anything. They never hit the like button. I just had no freaking clue.
I hear that story almost every day from like a client. You're like, I got this person that's been following me. I remember the other thing, by the way. So the other thing is that this is in the same vein as this consistency. Like once you have this offer, and you're in love with the offer, you're improving the offer, and you're improving your way in which you're selling it. What happens is they watch people, it's not selling, it's not making the money that they want, and they start to blame and attribute all their problems to like the strategy. It must just be the strategy. And every 3 months, they've hopped around to a completely different way to make money, and they're chasing all these promises that people make all over social. This made me 10K months, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like they abandon their idea. They not realize that everything that we've just been talking about for the past hour is what will actually contribute to the sales. The messaging, the offer, and how you communicate and how you show up is 90% of it. but you don't go to work on those things. And you're like, maybe this strategy works. Maybe this strategy works. And you're just staying busy again. Now you're creating again. Now you're doing more doing and not selling what you've already got.
Right. Yep. Well, James, this has been amazing. There's been a
Me.
lot of gold nuggets. Hopefully you guys have picked them all up. But I have things on my list that we didn't even get a chance to talk about: systems, processes, hiring, when to hire, how to systemize it so you're not working your butt off, because there are ways to run this business. And what I find is the people that make more money are the ones working less, and the ones that are working more usually are not making as much money.
Big time.
And I know you guys have a free training coming up that's going to start talking about these things, showing them what the first steps are, how to get started with all this, and how to scale their course-based business. And so I'm going to have James talk about it here in a second, but if anyone wants that training, it's absolutely free. It's a 3-day training called Rise of the Digital CEO. You can go to brandonlucero.com/James, James, brandonlucero.com/James. So James, if they go and they register, what will they be learning?
So I have this theory that I've been proving over the years that the health and workability of your business will determine how much money you make in that business. And if we don't have, I just think most people don't know how to run a business. And so it ends up running them. And eventually, inevitably, it runs people straight into the ground. Far too many people I know are giving in, breaking down, and burning out. And the bottom line, most people don't know how to run a business. So the first thing is I teach you the whole damn thing on how we run this business. And the best way I look at it is we pop open the hood to my 8-figure-a-year business, and we show you how it's run and how you can start to run it at every single level, because you got to love your business. You got to find enjoyment of it. It's got to work, and it's got to be smooth to some degree. Okay. Business is going to have tons of challenges and learning opportunities. But if it does, none of it works and it's a total shit show behind the scenes, it's only a matter of time before you give up and give in. And I don't want that to be the case. So this becomes a very eye-opening and illuminating experience for people, where they have a lot of breakthroughs on holy cap, I had no idea I was operating this way. I had no idea I was doing this. Why am I not doing that? We put your attention on a lot of things that you didn't know about business. So a lot of breakthroughs happen. This is all kicking off June 6th. The Rise of the Digital CEO. No, it does not matter if you started your business yesterday or you've been in this game for a decade. We have online experts, coaches, course creators, membership site owners say every single year, I got more from these free trainings than I did from those $2,000 courses. And I can guarantee you, if you're there, if you're present, especially if you join us live, you will have the same experience, because I'm up in the ante this year. We got a lot of good stuff I'm cooking up. I want to share with you the latest and greatest on what's working today, because I'm tapped into a lot of different niches and online experts in every different marketplace, and what they're doing, what's working today in 2024, how the market is shifting, and how we can adapt and thrive today, because our business has been growing year after year. I know a lot of people that are struggling. They can't figure out what to do to change, to adapt, and we want to help you with that.
Cool. I love it. I go every single year and watch it, and I'm always picking up on new and different things. And I know James has a lot of really cool stuff planned for you guys, including the digital CEO dashboard, which you can monitor your business. Yeah. The thing about business I don't think a lot of people know and realize is it also just comes down to data and numbers, and those can just tell you exactly what's working and what's not. And we don't have to guess, we don't have to survey, we don't have to do all of this stuff. And James talks about that as well. So head over to brandonlucero.com/James, register for the Rise of the Digital CEO. It starts on June 6th. It's going to be a 3-day long event. It'll be awesome. So head over there, and I will see you guys all there. So James, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your wisdom with the audience. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested, and thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.